We just saw in the middle of the country a giant chemical fireball, 100-foot flames, and very few people asking questions about what led up to this. So there was a derailment in 2012 in New Jersey,
releasing 20,000 gallons of dangerous chemicals and noxious gas into the air.
There's children in the town that are being affected by this.
And there was pressure on regulators to do something about those kinds of trains. And so the Obama administration had a rule proposed to better regulate these trains. The National Transportation Safety Board told the regulatory agency, said, listen, these regulations should broadly cover not just oil, they should cover what's known as Class 2 chemicals. And the chemical industry lobbyists went to work pressuring the regulatory agency to limit the definition of what a high hazard flammable train is. Limit it in a way that the train in Ohio, that kind of train ended up not being classified as a high hazard flammable train.
The NTSB closely monitoring 4 cars that are filled with vinyl chloride. It has been found to be linked to cancer.
Trains that were subject to this rule were going to be required to use a special kind of new braking system to try to deter or at least reduce the damage from derailments.
ECP delivers the unmatched performance of air brakes with the precision of electronic communications.
Most trains in the country are still using technology from the Civil War era. But the moment the government was considering making it a mandate, the railroad industry changed its tune. It cited cost concerns to pressure against that rule.
We want to see federal regulations when they're necessary, not just in reaction to a headline in the Washington Post.
Obama's rule included that measure to expand the larger use of those brakes on the nation's rail system. But in that 2016 election year, the Republican Party got about $6 million from the rail industry. And Senate Republicans started beating the drum for Trump to repeal the rule. Donald Trump repealed the brake rule so that the industry does not have to even start to use these kinds of brakes. One former Federal Railroad Administration regulator told us that these brakes, which are known as ECP brakes, would have mitigated a disaster like this. And we just learned today, after the publication of our story, federal officials told us that this train did not have those brakes on the train.
Yes, so props to David Sirota and the Lever for that story. As you guys must have heard over the last week, the northeast village of 5,000 people known as East Palestine, about 40 miles, I'm sorry, not 40,000, but 40 miles northwest of Pittsburgh and 20 miles south of Youngstown, Ohio. Already, those metropolitan areas are under alert for the air and water contamination coming from this train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. And in Palestine proper, many residents are already reporting troubling health symptoms and dying area wildlife as they weigh the risk of remaining exposed to toxic fumes and chemical leaks from the derailed tanker cars carrying hazardous materials. In the immediate aftermath of this derailment, rail officials ordered that the vinyl chloride hauled by the 5 of the Norfolk Southern cars in the 150-car train be burned off to prevent a still greater explosion. But that action actually sent hydrogen chloride and phosgene, 2 dangerous gases, spewing into the air. EPA investigators have since identified other hazardous chemicals that the train had been hauling, including ethylene glycol, monobutyl ether, ethyl hexyl acrylate, and a bunch of other stuff, that I definitely can't pronounce. And the EPA has released a report saying that the chemicals from the derailment have leached into the soil and water in the aftermath of the accident. Now, this is a political story because rank and file workers organizing with the Railroad Workers Union have waged high-profile pressure campaigns to improve rail safety and retain staffing. That's one of the things that they were just on strike about 2 months ago, before the Biden administration broke the strike. Hold on, caller. Now, rail workers with Fight for Two-Person crews have been waging an allied campaign to lobby state and federal lawmakers to create and enforce standards for safer train staffing. Okay, last year the FRA proposed to reinstate a 2-person crew rule and open a public hearing in December 22. Now, rail workers have insisted for years that staffing cuts and the rail carriers have pursued to pad their bottom line would create a safety crisis in this industry. Now, what is our government doing about it? Secretary of Transportation's Pete Buttigieg department has not moved to do anything, much of anything, including to reinstate the Obama-era safety rule aimed at expanding the use of this better brakes, these that we just heard about in the video. Even though a federal safety official recently warned Congress that without better brakes, there will be more derailments and releases of hazardous materials. Okay, like, Rev, this is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, this is horrific. You want to go or do you want to get this caller?
Well, let's see what the caller has to say if they're talking about this.
Hello, caller.
Okay, good evening. How y'all doing?
It's all good, brother.
All right.
Who is Scott?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good rep.
Hello.
See, now I know you all can see the light now. Somebody can see the light. I know I'm not the only one that can see it.
All right, we'll share because there's probably some people that don't.
Everybody been looking at those balloons in the air, right? Whatever these things they had up there.
Yeah.
Look, man, that's just one of the diversions. Now all of a sudden, a train supposed to have crashed and got all kind of gas coming from Pakistan. Now just think about this, man.
What's up?
Look. I've been telling the whole world because you on 7 continents.
Go ahead.
Those balloons that people looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so focused on that balloon. Well, hell, I got you all watch that balloon now. So let's tell out some more. Let's go here and send this train with all that parts of gas. All of these is diverse. Look, man. Look, man.
What do you think it's a diversion for?
Killing off people. That's the whole idea. Kill off. Come on, man. You know 5 billion people got to lead us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talking about the Georgia Guidestones, right?
Huh?
You talking about the Georgia Guidestones, right?
Wait a minute. Say that again real softly. What now?
The Georgia Guidestones, where they talked about that the population has to be reduced to.
Stop right there. I'm done with it. You already know. Look, Scott, just stop. Just stop. You already know what's happening, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, you know how many billion people got to lead this earth.
Ooh.
That's what this is all about. But I'm gonna keep all kinds of versions going. And good Reverend, you done heard me. I know you done heard me spoke on this before.
Yeah, you never.
Yes, I've heard
Okay,
you
I'm gonna let you all go. Just keep on watching these balloons and see. And now see this train derailment. It's another diversion. Ain't no telling what's gonna happen now.
Ooh.
Bye, you all.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call,
He
sir.
didn't put in his 2 cents right there.
Yes.
You know, it's not like the science isn't already out there. It's not like they didn't know if something were to go wrong. Part of this, to me, though, does come down to the thing of we tend to like to assume that everything will work for the best, that things won't go wrong. The old Westworld scenario. That because we've developed something or designed something or built something, that everything will always work according to plan. And then when it doesn't, the one of the first questions that comes up is, well, why did God allow this? Well, no. No one complains when God allows things to work out the way we like them to work out. There was nobody in Kansas City complaining when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Well, there were some people in Philly that might have been saying, why did God allow this? But, just generally speaking, we assume that the things we want to have happen will happen the way we want them. And in this case, they assume that none of these trains would ever, crash or derail or any sort of bad thing happen to them. And so, we can take chances. We don't have to be the most careful, because besides that costs extra money to be, super careful.
Mm-hmm. Let's get this other caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, how you doing, Scott? How you doing, Pastor?
Hello.
Good.
But you know what? I think that it's a matter of money, because you know what? When this thing should have been done way back in 2016 was it under Obama?
Yep.
And then now you know what now. But see, during that time, I think if I remember it correctly, you had a was the Republican Congress and stuff. And so therefore those laws did not get done under Obama, but that's what he wanted done. And then they turned around and then, okay, it may have done it, but then Donald Trump
undid it.
Yeah, he undid everything Obama did. He hated Obama. He really did. He hated Obama, and because of his hatred, he just tried to disband everything Obama did. But now look at this here. Now, this stuff should be laid right at his door. It really should.
Well, it's got to be, but the Biden's administration's had 2 years to re-implement these. Like the video said, you know, the Obama administration laid the plans to put this in effect, and then the railroad companies came in with $6 million worth of cash, and they paid off all those Republican senators and congressmen to support not having to have these breaks, these ECP breaks that are supposed to be
prevent it.
To prevent these things. And so Trump undid it. The Republicans and Trump undid it. Now, the railroad workers begged the Biden administration. People have said, hey, y'all need to reinstate this. But again, the railroad companies are so influential. They have so much money.
But you know what? See, you know what? Here's the thing. As I recall, I didn't hear anything about breaks. I was hearing what I heard about as far as the railroad was about them going on a strike. Now I didn't hear any
that's
of the
one of the reasons why. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Like these safety measures that these guys have been fighting for. They were fighting for that. They were fighting for more help because see these train companies, Norfolk Southern is worth $55 billion.
Well, you know what? In my opinion, and then too, I think the governor and somebody else was saying, "Oh, it's safe to go back there." But you know what?
Oh yeah.
Where do they live?
You better believe they ain't drinking the water.
Because they were saying that a lot of the fish and stuff was floating up on the water dead.
Yep.
So I'm saying, why don't they want to live there?
Yep.
And that's terrible to try to tell people you need to stay there, and you don't know what is taking place in that, because that's just dangerous. It's just really dangerous. But that's what I was saying. I think now, you know what? We accuse Obama of a lot of things, but he did a lot of good, I believe, when he was in office. But now this should be laid right at Donald Trump's footsteps, for real.
Okay.
Well,
thank you for your call.
Although it won't do any good. I mean, because here's the thing: legally, the president doesn't make laws. The president can request laws to be written, and he can sign them after they are written.
Power, and he has the bully pulpit.
But that's it.
He has the bully pulpit, and he has the executive orders.
So if you want to say, well, we should lay this at Trump's feet, well, like you said, well, Biden's had 2 years to undo it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Biden's had 2 years, and a lot of people don't. Like I said, a lot of people a lot of us were mad. I mean, I think we talked about it a few months ago when Biden broke the strike of those railroad workers. These railroad workers have been saying for years that they want the things like denying them staffing support and sick leave. These railroad workers are exhausted. A lot of these guys get 1 day off a month. They in order to be able to take a sick day, they have to declare that they're going to take a sick day 30 days in advance. Like they have to know when they're going to get sick, and so they were.
I can see how that goes over with management. So you're telling me you're going to be sick next month,
right? And it's important to understand that why the media has not. They just started covering this. Well, this happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The reason that they just started covering this, it's important to understand who owns everything. It's just like I told you guys about Pfizer and these drug companies and how much they own the media. BlackRock and Vanguard, which are the two investment firms, they own 12% of Norfolk Southern, and they also own all these media companies. So that's why the media's mostly ignored this until very recently. Now they can't. And now, like I said, Norfolk Southern is worth $55 billion. And you want to know how much they offered the residents in East Palestine, Ohio, per person?
Go ahead and tell them.
$5, Rev. They offered, I'm serious, they offered about $60,000 in aid to this to that area of about 15,000 people. That would have been $5 a piece.
Oh, because I know they were offering checks of like $1,000.
No, at first they were offered $5, and so they got clowned. So maybe they came back. So it's important to understand that these workers told everybody this. These workers told Biden and his administration this. The Democrats voted to break the strike, to break those workers, and make them go back to work when they were going on strike about this just at the beginning of December. Just at the beginning of December, we were covering this story then, and this is what they were warning about. And while this was happening, another train wreck happened in Houston. A Union Pacific train killed the driver and derailed, and 20 plus rail cars crashed earlier part of this week. So this is going to keep happening. This is going to keep happening. Well, we got to take a break really quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about cancel culture and how do black celebrities get a raw deal when it comes to what they can be forgiven for versus white celebrities. We'll be right back after these here on Issues and Answers.
Rail workers warned us about disaster like this. I heard firsthand months ago about the corporate practice of precision scheduled railroading.
Precision scheduled railroading is shorter staff, longer hours, longer trains, less safety, less maintenance. Do I have all that right?
Oh, you got it all right. I
Okay.
mean, a lot of the derailments that you're seeing on national TV is one of a few things. It's lack of maintenance on the track, or they've cut the track gangs too short and they can't get out to fix it, or they've cut the carmans, which is the union that works on the rail cars. So we have one derailment here in Northeast Ohio where a wheel flange was very thin and it picked a switch and derailed the entire train. Luckily, it was full of candle wax and not something highly volatile.
Rail workers tried to strike over this stuff, but were stopped by Congress. A few weeks later, and here we are. Several Norfolk Southern cars of toxic, highly volatile chemicals exploded fantastically in the tiny town of East Palestine, Ohio, 20 miles from where I grew up. So I met Clyde in East Palestine to ask him about it.
It looks like a faulty bearing caused a catastrophic derailment. These railroads are turning profits hand over fist. They've cut their workforce to bare bones, and now they're paying the price for it because the wheels are falling off the train, basically. Carmen were inspecting cars about 3 minutes per car. That's always been the industry standard. Now it's 90 seconds per car.
Is that because of PSR?
Yes, it's a rush job right now, and these guys are under pressure. I mean, they're working men and women, and, you know, if they don't hurry up and get this car done, they're going to be fired.
Great points. So I went to a press conference with Norfolk Southern and Ohio Governor Mike DeWine to ask them about this.
What could precision scheduled railroad have to do with the axle failure that caused the derailment?
I have no idea that it's a mechanical issue. Precision scheduled railroading is a management process.
Not a great answer, and that's probably because Norfolk Southern let a worker take the fall, rather than a single corporate executive showing up in the town that they polluted to be held accountable. You see, Wall Street owns Norfolk Southern. 74% of shares are owned by a who's who of infamous hedge funds. And this is the business model that they demand. Profit at any cost. And disaster like this is simply a cost of doing business. They cut everything, make all the money, and pay off disasters in tiny flyover towns from the profit. But instead of answering for any of that, they're betting that the corporate media, under the same pressure for extreme profit as railroads, will only ask questions about how much cancer people will get and not why this preventable disaster happened.
Have questions about